Grown black folks talk. To forgive or not to forgive two American Nazis, former, according to them. I was asked this question by Ms. Michaela Raymond, who is one of my subscribers on both YouTube and TikTok. And I've taken my time thinking about it because it is a very, very deep question at this particular moment in history. And the answer is no. And I really can break down in 30 seconds why I say no. If a person thinks that they can pick up something as weighty as Nazism, and still want to be centered, that's problem number one. Problem number two, I can only forgive you if you actually did something to me. You're being an insignificant white person who is trying to get attention in the world by picking up and putting down one of the most destructive philosophies in history means you're not repentant. You still want to be centered in your whiteness, meaning you still believe you are a white supremacist. No. It really is that simple. Now, I'll unpack it because I know some of us really didn't study deep stuff in school. I've studied Nazi Germany. I am someone who grew up listening to both deep African American music and some of the deepest German classical music and realized I could speak German as a very small child because Haydn set the first two chapters of the Bible to music wholesale. And because I knew those chapters, I knew that I knew the words in both languages, the words that are similar in German. But of course, if you're going to go down that road, that was several hundred years ago, you kind of need to read about 1933 through 1945 and really 1920. The Germans held off the Nazis in 1924 and 1928. They did not in 1932. Hit United States in 2024. That's a different video. But having studied it, I would like to ask these two individuals, this married couple, do you understand the enormity of what you did? And since you're a Nazi, you should know that enormity is one of those words that has its analog in German. People think enormity means great size. Nope, it means great wickedness. In the same way the word gewaltig in German means mighty, but if you go to the word Gewalt, that means force or violence. So gewaltig means mighty violence. Well, enormity is one of those words in English. Enormous means big, enormity means great evil. So, the gewaltig nature, the enormity of what anybody does, when you pick a losing philosophy that killed 55 million people and took the country that espoused it, destroyed it, and burdened it with it to this day. 45 years dealing with Joseph Stalin and his associates taking out revenge for the 12 million Slavic people, many of whom were Russian, that the Wehrmacht, the German army, killed on their way to try to sack Moscow. 45 years. I'm only 43 years old. The Berlin Wall was up longer than that. Well, no, let me correct myself. The Soviets had control of East Germany longer than that. The Berlin Wall is not quite that old. Didn't get to be quite that old, but they had control. And so you put half your country, you know, Hitler and Mussolini and all of them excused what they were doing because they didn't want the left to take control of Europe. Well, the left took control of half of Europe because of what Germany did. So Germany's been burdened with that. And because I know Germans who grew up in what used to be East Germany, they're telling me, no, we still burdened with it. But here's the thing about the Germans. Real Nazis pay reparations. Germany actually made real efforts and still makes real efforts to let it be known they no longer side for what destroyed their country. Because Nazism destroyed no one's country more than it destroyed Germany. So basically, if you're a white American Nazi, you're sitting up here thumbing your nose in your grandparents' face for a philosophy that destroyed its own country. And you think you can casually pick that up and put it down. You think you going on the news because you want to be recognized in social media for doing the right thing. No, it is your human duty to stand against the genocide of other human beings. It is your human duty to stand for righteousness. It is your American patriot duty not to try to import a philosophy that destroyed its own nation. You don't get pats on the back for that. That's what you're supposed to do. Now, here's the other part about this. And I'm not bringing up this woman's child because just to do it. No, she said in her interview, my son was afraid to date a woman from a different race. So I realized I really was having too much hate. I'm like, ma'am, if you are an American Nazi and your son comes home and says he does not want to reproduce with a woman of your Aryan image, I bet that did rattle your cage a little bit. That's the level to which you failed. But see, this is the thing. People who are not secure in themselves will pick up and try on any philosophy that they think will make them stronger. Remember that the Germans had lost World War I, and there was nothing they could do about it. They'd only been an empire for about 40 years before that, before World War I. They missed most of the colonial period. They tried to jump out there in World War I, and they missed. And they wouldn't accept it. So then they tried to become, quote, how would you say this in German? Oh, Deutschland über alles. Make Germany great again. Greater Germany. This is language Hitler actually used. So you translate that into good old American English, you get make America great again. But they were insecure about their place in the world compared to other Europeans who had colonies. That basically is what that was about. So here in this country, because in Germany, you cannot be a neo-Nazi. They just did their last major neo-Nazi raid within the last year and a half or so. Kanye West thought he would try on with him being insecure after the loss of his family, decided he would try to admire Adolf Hitler, and Adidas said, oh, no, we are a German company, goodbye. No. You couldn't do that here. You can only do that level of foolery here because the United States has not yet been completely destroyed. And everybody's forgotten that the South was completely destroyed in the Civil War. So people think they can do this foolery and that there's no consequences. But see, here's the other thing that goes on. If you're a Nazi and your son wants to be with another woman who's not a white woman, you failed. What you picked up to try to put on to help you didn't work. So now you want to try on something else. And see, now look, there were a whole lot of people in 1945 after about June who talking about they ain't Nazis no more. Because Adolf Hitler was never coming up for re-election. Y'all read between the lines on that. Because before it looked like Donald Trump was gonna mop the floor with Joe Biden, these people were not coming out doing this. But see, in 1945, a gentleman named Konrad Adenauer became the next chancellor of West Germany, which was all he could get a hold of because Stalin had the rest. And he said, oh, you people did this foolery? You a Nazi? You will never be in public service again. Never. Because what you chose to espouse destroyed this country. All that Marshall Plan money that I'm going to try to figure out how I get in here, you will never. So a whole lot of people are sitting up here worried about what happens if Kamala Harris gets in office and are going to back up and try to act like, here's the sad part. We did not make this couple go on social media so that we could know who they were. They could have been forgotten if not forgiven if they did not need to be centered. But I am where I began. If you think you're becoming a Nazi and not becoming a Nazi is so important that it requires me to give you anything, forgiveness or not, Jesus said in Luke 17:3, if your brother, and we'll expand it to the human race right now, sins against you, forgive him. But there's a caveat. If your brother sins against you and he repents, if you are still trying to center your white self because you think you are owed something from black people, real Nazis pay reparation. Nazis were in power for 12 years. Spend 12 years paying off the debts of black people around you. Support black people going to college. Put money in the black community. And do not be in my eyesight till some black person brings me 12 years of receipts. And then come talk to me. Because in the meantime, you're trying to be centered and you're trying to be patted on the head because you put down one of the most destructive philosophies in history. You are not repentant. And therefore, no, you cannot be forgiven. All right, we're going to have a more pleasant subject sometime. But Michaela Raymond, I've done what I committed I would do. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. Thank you for listening.